Today we're going to learn about BMI, body composition, some of the issues with BMI, and how we can assess if our body composition is healthy, because your weight doesn't really matter, and I'll explain that in a second. So here we have a BMI chart, and a BMI chart is not a great assessment of an individual. So all the BMI chart takes into account is height or weight divided by height squared, okay? And you can see that equation down on the bottom. Let me give you an example. So if we look at the bottom here, this height or weight chart, I had a friend who was about 5'8", and he weighed about 240, okay? And if we go to 5'8", we go to 240, it actually put him in the obese category. But when we measured him with a body composition test, we did the underwater weighing, he was actually a healthy, normal weight. And the reason for this is what really matters is the ratio between fat mass and lean mass. And the scale can't determine that number. So you can take your scale and you can throw it in the trash because it's pretty pointless. It doesn't tell you a whole lot. You know, if somebody's trying to lose weight, yeah, it can maybe help you understand if you're losing weight or not. But another issue with that is, let's say you start losing weight, but you're building muscle, which is really what we want to be doing. We want to be building muscle overall to improve our body composition. And sometimes that muscle that we gain offsets the fat that we lose. And that can be hidden with the scale measurement. So, you know, if you're stepping on a scale every morning, that's probably not the healthiest activity to do. And yeah, you know, you just can't trust the BMI chart very much. So you can find yourself on here. Sometimes it works okay with the general population, but it's just not a great measurement. And here are some of the issues. Number one, it doesn't distinguish between gender. And males have 3% essential fat, and women have at least 12% essential fat. And we'll distinguish those things in a second here. So women need to have more body fat, but a BMI chart is just for all humans, right? Another problem with this is it doesn't take into account age. And as we get older, a higher body fat percentage becomes healthy. So it doesn't take that into account. It doesn't look at muscle mass, which is important to determine whether you're a healthy weight or not. It's just not a very sensitive measurement. What else? It doesn't look at your skeletal frame, how that works out. So there are some real issues with BMI. There is some value to BMI. So for instance, we can use it. It's really easy data to collect, and we can use it for generalized ideas of disease risk. And one of the things that they found is if you're in the upper categories of obese or overweight, this does tend to lead to an increased risk of diseases. So here's a list of diseases that are increased if our BMI is higher. And I'll just let you check those out. Obviously, we want to have as little issues as possible with our health. And we need to make sure we're maintaining a healthy mass overall, just so we can avoid some of these issues down the road. So when we're actually looking at if someone is healthy or not, what we need to do is do a body composition test, which is looking at the percentage of fat mass that somebody has. And a lot of times we think that fat mass is unhealthy, but it's actually the opposite. Fat mass can be very healthy, and in fact, you need fat mass. Like I said, for females, essential fat is at least 12%, and for men, it's 3%. So this chart you can see here is saying that women need 21 to 33% to be healthy, up to maybe 24 to 36%, and then for men, it's 8 to 19%. So there's about a 12% difference between men and women, and that's because there are differences in how we release our hormones. And fat is really important for hormone mediation, especially in women, because the sex hormones require a certain amount of fat. There's one theory that you need enough calories to be able to support a child in order to have a healthy cycle. And so, one of the signs of being too low in body fat is your cycle might be disrupted, or it might disappear, etc. So you just need to be aware of that. That can be a symptom that something is going on. But again, this scale is very conservative. There are some women who are under 21% who do seem to have healthy function. But like I said, fat mass is super important for hormone release. In addition to that, it provides cushion for our internal organs, provides insulation. It helps us absorb certain nutrients in our diet. It helps us build part of our cellular structure, and again, mediates hormone release. And so we need a certain amount of fat mass. In fact, if we look at this BMI chart, let's go back real quick here. They have actually found that if you are underweight, you have an increased risk of disease as well. So there is a healthy amount of body fat that we do need. And otherwise, we have some health consequences as well. For men down here, again, the numbers are about 10 to 12% lower for men, what is required. And again, this is a fairly conservative chart, but for some men under 8%, they do have a problem. So there's and same with women, right? So there's always a genetic component. Some women are fine below 21. Other times it messes up with their cycle, right? And we need to have a normal, consistent cycle to have good, healthy hormone release. So I'm going to show you some examples of how BMI can go wrong. So let's say we have Jerry. He's 47, 5'8", and weighs 260 pounds. On the BMI chart, he would be considered he'd be considered obese with a BMI of 40. But let's say he came into the performance lab and he did a body composition test. We might find that his body composition is 20%. So if we check out the chart down here based on his age, 11 to 22% is healthy. So he would be in the healthy category. And the good part about a body composition test is we actually measure lean mass versus fat mass. So we would see that Jerry has 208 pounds of lean mass. And this is going to be bone, organ, tissue, muscle, all that stuff, right? And then we also separate out the fat mass from that. So Jerry would say, let's say he has 52 pounds of fat mass. So that might seem high, but for Jerry, that's actually healthy because, again, he's got enough lean mass, and it's all about that ratio there. And we do need fat mass, right? In my experience, you need for men, you need at least 20 pounds for the most part, sometimes more. And for women, you need about at least 30 pounds, sometimes more. And those numbers can seem high, but that's actually what is required to be a healthy human. So let's take another example. Let's say we have Samantha. She's 27, 5'4", 180 pounds. Again, the BMI is going to categorize her as obese. So 31 would be that measurement. Now, if she came in and she did a body composition, we might find that she's 30%, which is ideal for women, right? So boom, she is healthy. She's right in that healthy category at 30%. If we looked at her lean mass, we'd find she has maybe 126 pounds of lean mass. That's super good. Like if somebody had that much lean mass, especially women, that would suggest that they are working out. And that's a good thing to know. If we compare somebody who is working out and overweight versus somebody who is a normal healthy weight and doesn't work out, the person who works out is going to be more healthy. So body composition is not the most important measure, but it is important. But exercise, I would say, is more important. And then we'd also find that she has 54 pounds of fat mass. So again, we have two people here. BMIs show that there's an issue, but as we can see, they're actually a healthy body composition. So there's a number of ways we can measure this. One way is one of those scales. It's called bioelectrical impedance, where you stand on it and it tells you your body composition. Those are okay measurements. They're not the most accurate. If you want it to be accurate, you need to try to measure yourself in the morning, and sometimes it works really well for people. Other times I've seen it as much as 10 to 12% off. So it's kind of like getting your overall weight or using a BMI. It's not the most accurate measure, and we need to use it with caution, because if we think we need to lose weight and we don't, then that's actually going to put us in an unhealthy situation. And what we're doing when we're changing our body composition is we want to be increasing that muscle mass, and then sometimes we want to decrease that fat mass. Other times we might actually need to gain fat mass in order to be healthy. So the scales, those work okay, but again, the number on a scale doesn't determine whether you're healthy or not, or your worth or not, or any of that. So just get rid of your scale. So here's one of the assessments we have in the performance lab. Anybody can take these tests. I've had a few students actually sign up for these. Anybody in the community can take them. It does cost some money, but let's just go over them real quick. So this is the skin fold caliper test. It is our cheapest method. It's not the most accurate, but I've done a lot of them, and it is pretty accurate. So what we do with this is we mark 7 sites across your body where humans tend to store fat, and then we measure the fat layer, and then from that we can estimate how much body fat you have and how much lean mass you have. And then from that we can determine what's healthy for you and determine a good, healthy plan to move forward. A little bit more accurate is the Bod Pod, and this test is a little easier. All you have to do is sit in the Bod Pod for 2 45-second measurements. It uses air pressure, so it's measuring how much volume you take up. From that number, we can determine your density, and then we get a lean mass number and a fat mass number. It's a pretty good assessment, and it's super easy. You don't have to do anything. You just have to sit there. And then last but not least is the hydrostatic underwater weighing. This is the most accurate body composition test out there. The idea is fat floats and everything else sinks. And so we get you underwater, we weigh your density, which is what we're finding while you're on this scale here. And then you fully exhale, and then we weigh you, see how much you weigh underwater, and then we determine how much lean mass and how much fat mass you have. So we offer all these tests to everybody. If you're interested, let me know. I'll put a link in the description for anybody who's interested in any of our performance testing. But these are the ones that I do the most of. So it's a really good assessment, much better than BMI. Don't worry about the scale. It's all about that muscle mass to fat mass ratio. And remember, we need a certain amount of fat mass to be healthy. So with that, I will call it a day. Check out my other videos, and I'll see you next time.